God, the beneficent, the merciful. I bear witness to the oneness of God, regardless to the land, label, or language you choose to use to refer to him. We don't get into an argument over God's names. Understand that God is known according to the language and culture of the people amongst whom he raised his prophets, his messengers, and his warners. We thank Almighty God, Allah, for all of the prophets and for all of the scriptures that were revealed through them to the whole of humanity. And we bear witness to the oneness of all of the prophets of God. Please allow us to greet you with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Semitic language of Arabic or Aramaic, and that is the language that all of the prophets spoke, yes, including Jesus. They said it like this: Assalamu alaikum. Those words simply mean, may peace be unto you. Look like I lost some volume over there, man.
Sound good to me, brother.
I was talking about, there it is. There it's back. Okay. It's back. But those words mean, may peace be unto you. Brother Kenneth, what's going on today, sir?
Oh, brother, all praise is due to Allah. As always, we always like to open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, bearing witness that to the oneness of God, and that all his prophets are one community. And I want to greet everyone here in Memphis, Tennessee, those on Facebook Live, and hopefully you're able to get the YouTube stream. But if not, you can tune in, as always, on TuneIn Radio with our greeting words of peace about Assalamu alaikum. I've been having problems with the Wi-Fi and getting to connect ourselves, so hopefully we get all of those things and problems worked out. But please continue to tune in. Please continue to support. I'm thankful, brother, to be here with you today.
Yes, sir.
Sitting back, and
I'm thankful that you're here, Chief.
Contemplating and reflecting. I was out at one of the stores, and the sales person that was checking me out, and had such a nice attitude, and so I commented on it, and was just understanding that we have so much to be thankful for. You know, sometimes we complain too much. Sometimes we're too ungrateful. And I was just reflecting on all the bounties of Almighty God that is bestowed upon someone like myself. And I was thinking about you, Brother Andre, as a mentor, somebody that's, been with me every step of the way in this transition period. And just wanted to thank you. Also, can never thank Almighty God enough for the Mid-South representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Student Minister Anthony Muhammad, and his staff of laborers, for all their assistance and their guidance, and for allowing me the opportunity to represent Muhammad Mosque number 55 and the Nation of Islam in the capacity that I'm afforded to.
Yes, sir.
I don't take those things for granted, and always, as you so eloquently put it, the ears of our listeners.
Oh, brother. Well, I'm always thankful, brother, and thank you for that. Just, I see it as the least that we can do for a man that has shared with us what we call the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which has had such a profound, life-changing effect and transformative effect on my life, brother. So the least that I can do, in my estimation, is share it with those brothers whom I come across and do what I can as a helper and student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and helper to his Mid-South representative, Student Minister Anthony Muhammad. Those days are growing short, but we won't get into that right now. Yeah. My bow tie is coming off. But I'm just thankful, brother, to be, as I say a lot of times, man, a grain of sand on the beach of the believers. So, in the church they used to say it like this: I just want to be in that number when the saints go marching in. Yeah. I'm not worried about where I am. I just want to be in the number. So,
yes, sir.
All praises are due to Allah. Well, brother, we're going to continue this conversation. But before we get into it, we're going to go ahead and we are going to get our commercial announcements out of the way. Then we'll come back with our axioms that will be used to hopefully guide the conversation and keep it in the lanes, if you will. So we'll be right back after these commercial announcements.
What's your source for truth in news reporting? Where do you turn for non-corporate driven news that's fair and balanced? Subscribe to the Final Call News, your #1 free and independent news source that delivers hard-hitting national and international news coverage of today's political, economic, and social issues. For weekly home delivery or online digital edition, log on to www.finalcall.com or call us, area code 901-286-5034. Get your locally made, freshly baked Supreme Bean Pies from Bake to Bean Pie. Made from the best of ingredients, experience the golden brown flaky crust.
And of course, the very first one from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is he who prescribes for you. The diameter of your knowledge dictates the circumference of your activity. And we should have a good grasp of that diameter of knowledge. And it's clear to us that they don't have very much confidence in the diameter that they are giving the American people.
Yes, sir.
Because in that sense of man, because he's dangerous. And he's not armed. And that begs the question, well, what is it about him that makes him dangerous if the man is not armed? We don't have a standing army. He's living in America. He's not guilty of any kind of violent act or promoting any kind of violent act or facilitating in any way. There is no record of the group of people that he preaches and teaches have engaged in any act of violence based on the teaching.
That's right. That's right.
I emphasize that part. Based on what we're taught. In other words, because of what we believe, someone used that as an excuse or as a reason to carry out an act of violence against anyone. So what it really sounds like in truth is that the diameter of knowledge that he has and has been giving to us is the kind that will supplant and uproot the lies and falsehoods and the inordinate control that they have over us by way of the information that they have prescribed to us. Second axiom from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he writes, a slave is one whose power and authority is ruled over by another, and whose sphere of freedom is limited according to the wishes of his master. I always find it interesting, Brother Kenneth. I was rereading an article earlier today, man, about how they really put pressure on Tamika Mallory about publicly condemning the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at the request of some leaders of the Women's March.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I always find it interesting, and the chorus, if you will, and the effort is oftentimes led, if not always led, by Mr. Representative from the ADL representatives. At one time it was Abraham Foxman, and now it's Jonathan Greenblatt, Mark Pultak of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and prominent members of the Jewish community. They always lead the charge in calling for black leadership to denounce. But interestingly enough, when the Sephardic chief rabbi referred to black people as monkeys, Kutsi, there was no call coming from the black community to have Jewish leaders come out in the public and condemn Mr. Yitzhak Yosef over in Israel, which I find interesting, you know. But what I'm saying is, I say that only to say that, you know, our sphere of freedom, or their sphere of freedom, those who they control, is limited according to their wishes.
Yes, sir.
So that's kind of like a master-slave relationship, you know. And I was reading some more material. I won't get into it, brother, but it's just really interesting. Sometimes I'll go back and read things and read them over again, you know, on issues that have, because people wrote about it. And it's interesting that one of the writers is one of the brothers who was before the the Judiciary Committee today, along with Danny Glover, stomping for reparations. And I couldn't help but think, what